doesn't make any sense. And I'm literally talking about teaching America how to dunk. And you're like, no. Don't teach America how to dunk. Let's just put tariffs. Now let's watch Time doing how tariffs work from 2 months ago. Hopefully this will be a quick and short explainer for you.
U.S. manufacturers make cars for $100, and they are selling briskly here at home. But the Chinese enter the market. They set their prices at $75. U.S. cars don't sell as well. The government decides to help the U.S. car makers, and they slap an 100% tariff on Chinese car imports. The companies that do the importing pay the tariff to the government. They typically raise the price of their products to cover it. Now, cars from China cost $150.
Yeah.
Consumers flock back to U.S.-made cars,
And even if China goes, all right, we'll lower the prices of our cars even further to help out the importers, okay? Even if they say, we'll help out the price of it, we'll help out on our end, the tariffs are usually so high that Chinese cars, once they do enter the American marketplace, because of the profit incentive from the importers, the middleman in that situation, they will still not be able to compete with American manufacturers. However, the way that this works is once the Chinese cars on the marketplace are $150, these cars don't stay at $100. They go up to $125. Sometimes they also go up to $150. Do you understand? Because the same incentive structure, the same profit motive exists for the domestic manufacturers as well. So they take advantage of the market and they also increase their prices.
all is good again. China may even open plants to build cars in the U.S., adding U.S. jobs to avoid the tax. But China likely retaliates and slaps tariffs on U.S. goods, making them more expensive overseas and hurting U.S. exports in different industries. Increased demand for U.S. cars and a lack of competition from other manufacturers may motivate U.S. car makers to raise their prices too. The market becomes less efficient and innovative.
Yeah, this last part is just, to a certain degree, this last part is obviously, how do I put this? It's pro-capitalist, and capitalists love free trade, and capitalists, of course, hate any kind of trade protectionism. There are obviously short-term negative pressures on the market, for sure, when any kind of trade protectionist policy is implemented. Okay? This is correct. Price increases is what I'm talking about, for sure. Having said that, if America and the American government did have a genuine interest in boosting American manufacturing, then they would have to, one, build the industrial base before they made these initiatives and plan for long-term prosperity in the same exact way that the Chinese government has done for the past couple of decades, and is the reason why the Chinese government has been able to outcompete every other country and their own domestic manufacturers. You can't compete with BYD because BYD is getting funded by the government. That's it. As long as Chinese government subsidies exist, they can behave in a way like Amazon does, with predatory pricing to outcompete everybody else. Because state subsidies with no real interest in improving profit margins, because every company is still ultimately controlled by the state, can be wielded like a weapon to eviscerate the American and European markets. Okay? Wait, you're admitting it? What do you mean? There's no admission here. This is just reality. This is analysis of what reality looks like. It's not a secret. it's also something that I want. You're admitting it's unfair trade practices? It's not unfair trade practices, dumb fuck. It's only unfair trade practices because America can't fucking compete. What are you saying? We also subsidize our agricultural output, for example. I think it's significantly less fair when the United States government dominates a country and incentivizes them not to produce their own agricultural yields and instead makes them poorer and poorer as a consequence and simultaneously offer them subsidized agricultural output instead. That's unfair. What China is doing is competing in the global market. China understands the game and plays it too well, and you're like, oh, it's unfair. They're dunking on us too much. Subsidize the single industry and keep prices low, bankrupt all other companies in the industry, not unfair. My friend, that's a government. You're just coping because our government won't do that. I'm saying our government should do that. Hello? You're mad that America set the rules of the game and China is fucking dunking on us. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm literally talking about teaching America how to dunk. And you're like, no. Don't teach America how to dunk. Let's just put tariffs. If that is not unfair, then what's wrong with America giving free food and clothing into a third world country, destroying their local industry? Because the over-reliance on free food and clothing for the global South comes from what America did prior to that. Okay? China did not do that to America or Africa. Do you understand what I'm saying? We dominate these countries and then we make them reliant on our free agricultural output that we subsidize on our end. We do it so that our farmers can make a living. We do it so that those countries never develop their own agricultural output. That is infinitely less fair than China being like, all right, you think China isn't doing this on purpose? Wait, what? I don't think you understand, man. I don't think you understand what I'm explaining to you. Okay? I don't think you understand what I'm explaining to you at all. You are not comprehending anything here. China is competing against countries that are more powerful than it, because they are able to use the profit incentive backed capitalist liberal democracies and their lack of interest in dominating private corporations or controlling private corporations against them. Is doing that, on the other hand, to significantly poorer nations that we have kept poor, that we have robbed blind. He's running circles around you intellectually. I know he is. Yeah, if you're the stupidest person on the planet, then yeah. Why Twitch is recommending me terrorist propagandists? I don't know. Is there like a pro IDF account recommending to you? Is that what's going on, chatter? Why proto-capitalist nation and then a hyper-capitalist nation, and everything that the American government has always done has been to protect, the profit incentive and protect the bottom line of corporations. That is precisely the reason why the American government has done this in perpetuity. That's it.
Stephanie Ramos, you are at the port in Newark, where goods are shipped from all over the world.
Brings in hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods each year from China, Vietnam, and other countries around the world. But those items are likely about to get more expensive. For years, from China, Vietnam, and other countries around the world. But those items are likely about to get more expensive. For years, Vietnam has been the go-to for companies trying to dodge U.S. tariffs on China. But starting April 9th, President Trump is rolling out a 46.
China is extracting value in unequal exchange in Africa, though. China didn't make Africa the ripe exploited ground that it is. Western powers did. China simply, once again, is out competing the Western powers, offering loans without the conditions that the IMF and World Bank have placed upon African nations. You are just mad that you can't compete against China. And it's funny because you're nothing. You're just like a guy like me. We have no say in this process, and we don't even fucking reap the rewards of this process. And here we are defending the American and the Western Empire's decisions. Like, what the fuck is this? It's just pure Western cope. And it's funny because that cope that you're demonstrating is old cope. It's cope from 10 years ago. Foreign Policy magazine and The Economist don't even agree with this assessment now, because even they are like, yeah, we got to look at the ways in which the IMF and World Bank have operated, eviscerating that debt in most marketplaces so they can, and that. Oh, yeah. China's extracting mineral resources from Africa, which they use to build more value-added products to sell back to them. China will never give up their IP and tech to build more value-added products to sell back to them. China will never give up their IP and tech to give African countries technology that would actually allow them to climb the economic ladder. Again, to them. China will never give up their IP and tech to give African countries technology that would actually allow them to climb the economic ladder. Again, comes true in the chat over and over again. Like, this person does not work for the Atlantic Council, and yet here he is repeating the same fucking sentiment, even though he's just like a random dude. Give up their IP and tech to the. Oh, yeah. China's extracting mineral resources from Africa, which they use to build more value-added products to sell back to them. China will never give up their IP and tech to give African countries technology that would actually allow them to climb the economic ladder. Again, comes true in the chat over and over again. Like, this person does not work for the Atlantic Council, and yet here he is repeating the same fucking sentiment, even though he's just like a random dude. What's it to you is the question that I ask, especially as America and the American government right now is destroying your fucking future, destroying your prospect for ever retiring, and you're over here still giving lectures about China. Age-old adage, once again, when China comes here, they build a hospital. When the Westerners come here, they give us a lecture. That's it. That's what you're doing. That's all you got. All you got is this. And it's funny because you're not even a Western diplomat. You're not working for the IMF. You're not working for the Atlantic Council. And here you are repeating shit that you read. It does not make any sense to me whatsoever. I don't understand it. Yeah, I mean, we've already covered this. Whenever China comes, they build a hospital. Whenever America comes, they bomb our hospital. Okay, that's different. That would be the. China would never be able to take advantage and develop these new relationships with African countries if it wasn't for the West's evisceration of African nations and consistent exploitation, hyper exploitation of African nations. You understand that, right? They look like they're wonderful liberators in comparison to the Western Empire and the forces that have dominated and kept African nations poor. and rob a rich man. It's not like Africa and African nations are poor across the board. They are actually, they're rich and poor across the board. They are actually, they're rich in resources. It's just that they have been robbed blind and purposely kept underdeveloped, blind and purposely kept underdeveloped by Western forces. They're overexploited.